Can you all hear me okay? Because for some reason, when you all speak, it's very light, faint sound I'm getting. Okay, we'll begin today's session. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshadari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Vangayate Giram Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Vinatari Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, my sincere apologies for not being able to take the class yesterday. I was stuck in a traffic jam. There was some major concert going on in a mall close to my house. So it was very difficult for me to get to my house. So my intention was to take the class, but I got delayed. So thank you for joining today. We'll just quickly recap what we covered in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. And then we will begin chapter 7. So in chapter 6, we looked at if we want to perform a karma, which is doing your work either as renunciation, which is renouncing the results, or doing your work in such a way that you are completely surrendered to the Lord in the form of bhakti yoga, both of which are called a karma. So the question is, if you want to do a karma, then you have to really know how to control your mind. And this being able to control one's mind is what the 6th chapter is all about, And we talked about that particular story about how one young boy thinks, okay, I want to give up everything. I want to go to the forest. I want to be alone. I want to do my japa, etc. And he gets distracted every day by, one girl. Then he closes his eyes, then he closes his ears, then he closes his nose. But then he's not able to shut off his mind, right? Can you imagine? If you're getting distracted by something outside, okay, then maybe you can close your ears, you can close your eyes and whatever else knows. How do you close your mind? You can't close your mind. So you have to train your mind not to be distracted, which is such a difficult thing to do. So much so even Arjuna was saying, hey, Krishna, whatever you're saying seems to be impractical and unendurable. Meaning, this dhyana yoga you're talking about, it doesn't seem like it is a easy thing to do. And I can't believe that anybody can do this for a long period of time. So perhaps it'll be easier for me to control the wind. But you are asking me to control my mind? I think that's very, very difficult, Krishna. And we talked about how we have actually trained our mind. If the mind is expecting in any particular activity, the mind always has expectations. If those expectations are not met, then the mind causes your unhappiness. So we talked about how if you are told, if you want to take darshan at Tirupati Balaji, it could take 7-8 hours. And you're ready for that because you're prepared. But if your expectation is some particular task that you want to complete will get over in half an hour, but then it takes you 4 hours, then you get quite agitated. Same thing we said, if we invite you for morning japa at 5 o'clock, many of you may be waking up early. But if we invite you for japa, even though you may be hearing us saying in almost every class, japa is very, very important, still, you may not come. But if we add an incentive and tell you, okay, you will get 5 lakhs if you come to class early in the morning, then many of you will show up. Why? Because there is an incentive now. If the incentive says it'll wipe away your sins, you may not be very inspired. But if the incentive says there is money involved, maybe you'll be inspired. Why? Because we've trained our mind to value money more than we've trained our mind to value leading a virtuous, sinless life. So ultimately, we said that an uncontrolled mind is your enemy. That is how Krishna begins the chapter. If Krishna himself is saying, if you've not controlled your mind, it becomes your enemy, then we should take that statement very, very seriously. And we saw that picture of the senses being represented by the 5 senses being represented by the 5 horses. The horses are controlled by the rope, and that rope is the mind. And the person driving the chariot is the intelligence. The body of the chariot is your body. And the soul is just silently witnessing being dragged this way and that way. Yeah. So oftentimes we think the soul is trapped in this body, but actually the soul is free. The soul is free to exit the body anytime it wants, not through suicide though. The soul is a free bird. It can exit whenever it wants. It meaning you and I. If I say it, it seems very impersonal. So if we want to exit this body, we can do it anytime. We can make a plan and exit. But then we've trained ourselves to get attached to this body. So actually, the soul is the master, but we have substituted the master, which is the soul, with the mind. So that's why we said, if the servant takes the position of the master, then there will be chaos in our life. The master has to remain the master, which is the soul has to remain the master. So then you may ask, how can the soul dictate to the mind? It's very simple. That's why Krishna says we have to lead a regulated life, which is what this dhyana yoga is all about, right? It begins with yam, niyam, asana, pranayam. So many different steps for us to train the mind. But is it possible for us to do this kind of sadhana for many, many, many years before we actually learn how to conquer the mind? That is why Arjuna is protesting. He's telling Krishna, the mind is restless. It is stubborn. I don't think my mind is going to listen to me. So if a great archer who's been trained to concentrate is saying this, then what about poor souls like us, right? So therefore, Krishna says that, yes, I agree with you that the mind is difficult to control, but Krishna also assures Arjuna it can be done. One of the shlokas we did not cover when we were doing the 6th chapter is that Krishna says, through abhyasa and vairagya, one can control the mind. Abhyasa means practice. Vairagya means being detached. We have to practice being detached from the mind. We have to tell ourselves, I am not this mind. So when we say, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, when we say, I am not this body, we forget that that includes the mind and intelligence. So the mind is always trying to trick you. I was reading a little pastime that my Guru Maharaj was talking about, His Holiness Japatak Swami Maharaj. He was saying one of his disciples was chanting very nicely. He was very poor, but he was very attached to chanting. One day, his disciple's father passed away, and apparently the father was quite wealthy. And he was the only son, so the son got all the property. As long as he was a disciple of his Guru Maharaj and he was in a condition of poverty, he was chanting nicely, he was following his sadhana. The minute he got all of this wealth, he thought, now though I've got everything, so why I should chant? There's no need for me to chant anymore. I have everything that I need in life. And one by one, many people came out of the woodwork to take advantage of him, and pretty soon he lost all his money and lost all the property. So when he got the wealth, he stopped chanting. And when he lost the wealth, he realized, I have to go back to chanting. It's quite a disaster. So we should chant because we know it is helping us on our spiritual path. It's not that tomorrow we'll all become sadhus. We will discover some pastimes today. It's not possible to become a clean person overnight. It's going to take many, many years of chanting to really help ourselves. So we also talked about Jada Bharat, how he took the form of another human after being in the body of a deer. And somehow or the other, the Lord helps him remember his previous life as a king. And he decides, no more, I'm not making this mistake again. So bhakti never goes to waste. And you would have seen the two diagrams, right? Arjuna asks some very important question, which is, what happens to those who are practicing, but they are not successful? Where do they go? I mean, what happens if they're not successful? Does it mean all of it was a waste of time? So to which Krishna says, well, if you've been practicing for a long time, then you will take birth, and let us say you don't succeed. What is success here? To going back to the spiritual world. If you don't succeed, then Krishna says, definitely I will put you personally in the family of devotees. So it's easy when you grow up in a family of devotees to become a devotee of Krishna, because you just are raised like that from childhood. Then that means if you're not successful and if you have performed bhakti for a short period of time, then Krishna says that at a minimum, I will make sure you enter the family. Either the family is very prosperous or the family is very well educated. If the family is very prosperous, then you don't have to worry about wealth. You can just focus on spirituality. But that doesn't always play out that way. If the family is very pious and well educated, again, there's no guarantee that you will also be pious and follow in the footsteps. The risk is there. So very nicely, Krishna explains about the different yogis, right? The yogi we discussed is someone who is connected to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna says the yogi is better than an ascetic. An ascetic is better than an empiricist, which means somebody who's studying the scriptures. And better than an empiricist, and the empiricist is better than a karmakandi. And then it's as if Arjuna is asking, okay, which yogi is the best? To which Krishna responds by saying, that person who is performing bhakti yoga is actually the topmost. And that brings us to chapter number 7. So in this chapter, we are beginning a new section of the Bhagavad Gita. So the middle 6 chapters are called Bhakti Yoga. So the first 6 chapters were all about Karma Yoga, and it ended with Krishna talking about how we should do a karma in the form of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga means that we are not attached to the results of our work. We are able to distance ourselves from the results of our work. But Krishna also compares it to Bhakti Yoga, which is the conclusion in the 6th chapter. So in the middle 6 chapters, which is chapters 7 to 12, it is called Bhakti Yoga. And an analogy that is used to describe why, if Bhakti Yoga is the highest of the yogas, which Krishna talks about frequently in every chapter, how come that is not the climax of the Bhagavad Gita? Why does that not come in the last 6 chapters? When something is very precious and valuable, you try to protect it, right? Just think about the Mona Lisa. How much security is there for that one painting? So if Bhakti Yoga is so valuable and so important, then you can imagine Krishna is protecting it on 2 sides. On one side, he's protected it with Karma Yoga. On the other side, he's protecting it with Jnana Yoga. So it's like a sandwich, no? The vada and the vada pav is more delicious. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga actually comes in the middle section of the Bhagavad Gita. So let's look at chapter 7, how this chapter 7 is actually divided. You know, the relationship between master and the student always comes in the shape of questions. And Krishna is very intent and alert to any questions that Arjuna may have. And even if Arjuna asks supposedly the same question again, Krishna very patiently talks about that same topic, but he will go a little bit more into depth. So in the 6th chapter, we concluded with Krishna saying, Bhakti Yoga is the best, yoginam api sarvesham. That's the last shloka, which is the 47th shloka of the 6th chapter. So in the 7th chapter, Krishna is ready to teach us what is Bhakti Yoga. So how do we gain this knowledge? Through questions. So that is what is covered from shloka 1 to 12. Krishna will also talk about, now remember, from the 7th chapter, Krishna is introducing himself. And he's also introducing his devotees by extension, because the Lord is never separated from his pure devotees. But Krishna has to tell us honestly why some people will come to him and why some people will not accept him. So Krishna is going to tell us who are these people and why do they go to Krishna and why do they not go to Krishna. Krishna will also talk about the worship of the Devatas, which is from shloka 20 to 25. And then finally, Krishna is also going to speak about who can actually become a devotee. What is the definition of a devotee? What is definition of Bhakti Yoga? That is actually the most important thing, right? Because Krishna is going to define Bhakti Yoga for you. So here in chapter 7, we are going to learn who should we perform Bhakti Yoga to and how should it be performed. So this is the most important takeaway for us from chapter 7. So hearing is an important element of learning. So Krishna begins chapter 7. So there's no question here. Krishna is speaking. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamanaf Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Jnasyasi Tatshunu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga and full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So just like Krishna is saying, we are all ready to hear how we should practice this Bhakti Yoga, thinking about Krishna, with our mind attached to him. And when our mind is attached to Krishna, then Krishna says we can know him completely. And most importantly, we can be free from all other doubts. So many doubts plague us about Krishna, about his devotees, about what is right, what is wrong. Krishna is saying, stick to the charter, of Bhakti Yoga, and all your doubts will be vanquished. So here Krishna is saying, Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyam yasheshataha yaknyatva neha bhuyonyat jnatavyam avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. So what is this phenomenal and numinous? These seems like new terms that we've never ever heard before. So let's decipher what is it that Krishna is saying here. So let's take a simple example. We know that hydrogen in a particular proportion mixed with oxygen, you can make water. So this knowledge that H2 plus O gives you H2O, which in scientific parlance we call it water. This is called ordinary knowledge. So Krishna is distinguishing between ordinary knowledge and divine knowledge. He's going to tell us what is the difference between material science and spiritual science. So hence he's telling Arjuna, listen very carefully so that you are clear what is the difference between material science and spiritual science. And if you've understood the basic difference between material science and spiritual science, there's nothing else left for you to know. Okay. So that's what Krishna is going to say. So if we know H2 plus O equals H2O equals water, and how that comes about, that is material science. But answering the question, where did water come from? Who created it? And who's behind this larger functioning of the cosmos? That is spiritual science. So even material science, we don't understand completely. There is still so much research going on in so many different areas. We barely understand how the body functions, how the brain functions, how everything is running so smoothly, how our breathing is happening without our knowledge, without our consciousness, without our focus. How is the digestive system functioning without us having to make any conscious effort? Everything seems to be happening automatically. And you'll discover who's behind all of this when Krishna talks about it in chapter 10 and also in chapter 15, where Krishna says, I am the digestive power in you. Without my presence, your digestion wouldn't work. So this is spiritual science, knowing who's the cause of all causes, who's the root of everything. Krishna says that is spiritual science. So for example, if somebody dies and we do a post-mortem of them, what will the doctor do? The doctor conducting the post-mortem can at best say, how did this person likely die? And what was the time of death? Can the doctor tell us who he is and where he came from? That's not knowledge that the doctor has. So the doctor's role in this particular case is very limited in terms of what he can and cannot do or can and cannot say. So with material knowledge, you cannot understand who is God. To understand who is God and to understand his activities, you have to delve into spiritual science, because your material knowledge is not going to help you understand. Therefore, spiritual science is a very important aspect. It is not that material science is not important. That is not what we are saying. But you cannot use material knowledge to try and understand one who's unlimited, because material knowledge is limited. So with the limited, how can you understand the infinite, unlimited? It's not possible. Therefore, Krishna is talking about two different ways in which we actually acquire knowledge. One is called the Arohana method, and the other one is called Avarohana method. But it really doesn't matter whether it is Arohana or Avarohana. Even for material science, belief is essential. Arohana means ascending. Avarohana means descending. Okay, what is this ascending, descending? Doesn't make any sense to me because I never learned any of this in school. That this is an ascending method of learning and there is a descending method of learning. So what does it mean? Arohana method means we use our own intelligence to understand the world around us. We may do through exploration, experimentation, etc. But we want to do it on our own. This is called Arohana method. What is Avarohana method? We know there are other human beings who have already done the experiments before us, who already explored much before us. We don't want to waste time. We want to take advantage of what they have learned. And therefore, this comes from a higher authority, or what we traditionally call in the spiritual parlance as Guru Parampara. So one is trying to learn on your own through whatever means and methods you want to utilize, which is called Arohana, therefore ascending. That means you have to ascend the ladder step by step by step. Avarohana means descending. It is already coming in Parampara. But whether it is material science or it is spiritual science, belief is essential. And let's just take an example, a couple of examples. So we've been told by material science that man comes from monkeys, right? Darwin's theory. But has anyone ever witnessed it? No one has witnessed a monkey turning into a man or a woman. But why do we still study it, even though none of us have witnessed it? Because we have faith. We have faith in the teachers and we have faith in science. And therefore, we have accepted that man has evolved from monkeys. Okay. Now it's a completely different matter that spiritual science doesn't believe this one bit. But I'm just saying, in material science also, belief is necessary. Because you are just believing what you've been told, because even though you have not witnessed it. Similarly, science says somebody went to the moon. Did we personally witness it happening? But we believe it. Why do we believe it? Because we have something called the press that covers events like this. And we have the government that tells us they sent somebody to the moon. So even for material knowledge, we have to have faith. We have to have some belief. So that means, irrespective of whether it is material science or spiritual science, faith is a necessity. Belief is a necessity. So that means even if you're exploring the spiritual science, you must have faith, because without faith, you will not make progress. You will be flustered. You will feel helpless if you don't have faith. Acharyas have demonstrated to us over many thousands and thousands of years in many yugas that the spiritual science is superior. Therefore, we have to have faith. Actually, the Shastras say that the Lord is our Father and the Vedas are our mother. Therefore, to understand our Father, the Supreme Lord, we have to understand him through the Vedas, the scriptures, who is our mother. So this is the proper way to understand divine knowledge, is that it comes through the Parampara system. Many acharyas have read our scriptures And they have all come to the same conclusion, that there is a Supreme Lord. And there is only one Supreme Lord. And that we all originate from Him. So let's look at this Arohana method. So here it says that science has the capacity to only discover what is already there. So the field of science can progress only to a certain point. So we use our intelligence to discover the truth. We have so many material things and we use it to create so many different objects for our pleasure, for our entertainment, for our comfort, even for the purposes of killing others. But all of this is given to us by the Supreme Lord. Krishna says, I give you the intelligence. So everything is being supplied to us by the Lord, and we are simply using it to manufacture different things. The question is, who created the elements? We know that man did not create earth, water, air, fire, ether. That means somebody must have created it. So this knowledge of the Creator who creates this cosmos is actually spiritual science. But this learning through the ascending process, our scriptures say, have 4 defects. What are those 4 defects? 1, our senses is not perfect. Therefore, if we try on our own to learn and understand things on our own, we may not reach the right conclusion. The second thing the Shastra says, we cannot rely on ourselves because we have a tendency to make mistakes. The third thing is that we have a tendency to cheat ourselves and also cheat others. And lastly, all of us are operating under illusion. So this ascending method or the Arohana method is not the best method to learn. It is a good method to get started, but it is not the best method because it takes a long time. And we don't have a long life to discover everything that we want to discover on our own, because of these 4 shortcomings. So what is this Avarohana method? Which is receiving wisdom through disciplic succession. And because we cannot understand the limitless through our finite intelligence, then our Rohana method is the best way, and it is the fastest way, it is the simplest way to make progress. So here we hear from the Guru Parampara system, a trusted spiritual source. Just like, many academic institutions recommend certain books as part of their curriculum and syllabus. Why? Because it is certified by the board. Similarly, in spiritual science also, we have scriptures and knowledge that are certified by acharyas. So we rely on a trusted spiritual source, but who is the real source of this knowledge? It's Krishna. So what do acharyas do? They just repeat what they have heard from their guru. They do not manufacture something new. So if this is happening in a perfect way and the chain is not broken, then you are in a legitimate, bona fide, spiritual Guru Parampara system. So trust is an important element for both material science as well as spiritual science. Right? We have faith in the processes of both. So why should we accept just material science based on faith and not have any faith when it comes to spiritual science? That simply defies logic. What is interesting is that in the Avarohana method, we understand that the Lord is perfect and his pure devotees are perfect. The Lord does not have any defects. His pure devotees are also free from any defects. Now, you are going to protest this very strong statement. You are going to say, but then, don't you know Lord Ram did this? Or Lord Krishna did that? So what is the typical things that we hear? Yes. Let us say somebody from another religion, for the sake of using the word religion, asks you or asks me, why am I wearing a tilak? What is the significance of it? And I tell them, oh, I'm a devotee of Krishna. That's why I'm wearing a tilak. And that person responds saying, you don't know anything about Krishna. Why are you following this man? He married so many girls. He also cheated so many girls. So then I will ask this person, but how do you know he married so many girls? How do you know he cheated so many girls? And that person will say, I got that information by reading a book. Okay. Did you actually witness any of this happening? No, but I read it in the book. The book is the authority. So the book says he did this and he did do this. He married so many girls. That's what the book says. Oh, so then I will tell him, oh, so you are ready to believe that he married 16,108 women? But that same book also tells you that he is a supreme Lord. How come you are willing to accept or just a portion of the knowledge, the same book that you're citing as an authority? That same book also talks that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That would be my question. So if you've accepted certain things as facts in that book, then you should also accept it as a fact when that book says that he is a supreme Lord, Krishna. So oftentimes we make arguments without really thinking it through. So this is just an example of how to tackle such arguments. So why is it that we are willing to accept some information in a book but not the others? This Prabhupada says is Kukutta Jnana. There was a person who was given a hen which laid golden eggs. He was very happy. Every day he would wake up and there would be a gold egg. And slowly this person becomes very wealthy. One day he thinks to himself, every day I'm feeding this egg, this hen. It's such a cost to me. So after all, it is only the backside of the hen that is giving the golden egg. So I will just chop off the head so I don't have to feed. But at the same time, I'll keep collecting the golden egg every day. So he chops off the head of the hen. And obviously, out of sheer stupidity, he also killed the hen, and therefore he killed all of the possibility of him getting even more golden eggs. This, the Shastras call, half-baked knowledge. You accept certain things and you discard certain things based on convenience. So how do we understand this about Krishna, that he had 16,108 wives? Why so many? For that, we have to go back to the Ram avatar. It is said that when Lord Ram was traveling in the forests, that the rishis were very attracted to the Lord and they wanted to spend time with the Lord. And the Lord said, not in this life, but because you want to spend time with me, I will give you that opportunity. I will reciprocate with you the next time I come around as the Lord. So the Lord is always fulfilling the desires of the Jivatmas, and more so fulfilling the desires of his pure devotees who want to spend time with him. So these same rishis are born when Lord Krishna appears as gopis and all of these princesses. So there was a demon called Narakasura, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam. He kidnaps these 16,000 girls and locks them up. And Lord Krishna fights Narakasura, kills him, and frees these princesses. Now the princesses tell the Lord, we are all from the Kshatriya clan. The possibility of us getting married ever again does not exist because no man will accept us because we've been touched by another man. Therefore, my dear Lord, since we know that nobody is going to marry us, you are our only shelter. So we are completely dependent on you. And therefore, Krishna weds these 16,000 princesses because he knows that the rest of society would have rejected them. So Krishna is always there with us. He is always ready to reciprocate. So imagine 16,108 wives in Dwaraka. Each one of them had their own palace, and Krishna was there with them simultaneously. Again, this defies logic. Narada Muni becomes bewildered because he is also curious. How on earth is my Lord able to spend time with every single wife simultaneously? How is he actually splitting his time? Does he spend a few minutes with each wife every day? And much to his surprise, he sees that in Dwarka, Krishna is doing different things in different households simultaneously. In one household, he's playing chess with his wife. In another household, he's having his meal. In another household, he's playing with his grandchildren. So Narada Muni himself is puzzled. How is the Lord doing this? And Narada Muni is not an ordinary personality. He's a great devotee of the Lord. So even great devotees sometimes may get this question, how is the Lord doing this? And they get to witness it physically, which is what Narada Muni did. So who else can do this but the Supreme Lord? Who else can manage and maintain 16,108 wives? Well, what to speak about 16,108 wives? Who else can manage and maintain so many Jivatmas like you and me? Not just in this world, which we will discover in the 8th chapter. How many different worlds and universes there are? So then the next question will come, but what about Lord Ram? Why did he banish Sita Devi? Why did he ask for this Agni Pariksha? I mean, does the Lord not know that his own consort is pure or not? Does the Lord really need to test his own Shakti potency? I think that is the first question we should ask. If the Lord is all-knowing, why he needs to test anybody? He doesn't. But we'll take an example to show you why he does it. So there was a husband and wife living with each other in a rented house. And one day the husband goes out and the water motor switch is on. The wife turns it on and then she steps into the house and she falls asleep. So the water tank is overflowing. Pretty soon the neighbors come, knock on the door, try to tell her, wake her up, you're wasting water. Then the owner comes. He's scolding her, saying, what kind of people are living in my house? They don't understand the value of water. So many, many people have gathered outside the house, trying to knock on the door, getting somebody to turn the switch off because they are seeing water being wasted. Meantime, the husband comes back. The husband sees so many people gathered around his house. He's wondering what on earth is going on. And then he's told, see, so much water is flowing. So he opens the door to the house, finds his wife, brings her outside, wakes her up, brings her outside, and he starts scolding her severely, chastising her. You know, how stupid you are, how dumb you are, how careless you are. When all of the onlookers see the husband scolding the wife so severely, they start scolding the husband, saying, what's wrong with you? She just made a mistake. Why are you being so harsh with her? Why are you being so severe with her? So later on, after everybody had gone home, the husband tells the wife, see, I had to deliberately scold you so that when they see me scolding you so harshly, they will shift the blame to me. This is exactly what Lord Ram does. People will question your chastity. Before they do that, I will send you away so that who is going to get the blame? Mother Sita or Lord Ram? So this is how sweet the Lord is. The Lord is always looking out for the best interests of his devotee. So, so instead of everyone scolding Sita Devi for, falling for the trick of Ravana, who comes in the disguise, even though she was warned not to leave the cottage. So ultimately, Lord Ram creates a situation where he is questioned. Has anybody ever questioned Sita Devi in the Ramayana after reading the Ramayana? We always have questions. Why did the Lord do that? Because we are thinking, he is the Lord. How can he do that? The Lord does not know who Sita Devi is. He does not know about the purity of Sita Devi, who is his own Shakti potency. But this is the Lord protecting his devotees. He is ready to accept the blame so that his devotees don't get the blame. Right? So there is no defect in the Supreme Lord, and there is no defect in the pure devotees of the Lord. And we'll understand this a little bit better as we go to one of the shlokas in chapter 9. Okay? But the important thing is that the Lord is perfect. He is free from all defects. And so are his devotees. That means the devotees are Jivatmas. Devotees are not the Supreme Lord. But the Lord is saying, even my devotees are free from all defects. So then Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. You see, all of the Lord's pastimes, many of his pastimes are actually very difficult to understand. Hence Krishna is saying, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So Krishna himself is saying, not everybody can understand me. Not everybody can understand my nature. Not everyone can understand my activities. So what is the conclusion from this? Only open-minded liberal souls can understand the Lord's activities. And it reminds me of a pastime here, So since it is, we're talking about faith. So there is a cobbler and there is a brahmana. Both of them are devotees of the Lord. So Narada Muni comes one day, he visits the brahmana, he's very impressed. Pakka brahmana, following all the rules and regulations. Super perfect. Definitely the Lord is going to be very pleased with him. He visits the cobbler. Cobbler is very poor. He does his duty, but also a great devotee of the Lord. He's very pleased with him. So Narada Muni asks the brahmana, what do you want? And he asks the cobbler the same thing. What do you want? And the cobbler says, I don't want anything. And the Brahmana asks Narada Muni, can you ask the Lord when I will come back to him? So Narada Muni said, certainly, I will go. When I meet Lord Narayana, I will ask and I will come back and tell you. So Narada Muni comes back and tells Narayana that I met these two devotees of yours. One is a cobbler, the other is a nice Brahmana. The cobbler is happy with whatever he's doing. The Brahmana is very anxious to know when he is going to come back to you. To which the Lord said, you go tell them that when you met me, this is what you saw me doing. You simply go to the Brahmana and tell the Brahmana, when I met Lord Narayana, he was trying to thread a needle with an elephant's tail and trying to pull the elephant through the eye of the needle. You go say this to both of them and come back and tell me how they respond. So Narada Muni goes back to meet the Brahmana and he goes back to meet the cobbler. And the Brahmana asks, so do you have my answer? He said, no, first let me tell you what the Lord was doing. So he tells him the Lord was threading the eye of the needle, inserting the tail of the elephant, and then he pulled the elephant through the eye of the needle. To which the Brahmana said, what kind of nonsense is this? That hardly makes any sense. It's hardly logical. There is no rationale behind it. How could the Lord do this? So Narada noted this response of the Brahmana. Then he goes to the cobbler and tells him the same thing. He said, do you know what the Lord was doing? He was threading the eye of the needle with the tail of an elephant, and the elephant also was pulled through the eye of the needle. And the cobbler responded by saying, oh, how great is my Lord. He can do anything. So this Narada Muni noted the response of the cobbler. Then he goes back to Lord Narayana. And Lord Narayana asked him, okay, so now tell me who responded and how did they respond? So Narada Muni tells him, the Brahmana couldn't believe that you were doing this. But when I went to the cobbler was just astonished. He said, why can't my Lord do this? He's the greatest of the greatest. So Lord Narayana tells Narada Muni, so it will take many, many lifetimes for this Brahmana to come back to me. This is the last life for the cobbler. And Narada Muni asks, but wait a minute. If I compare the bhajans that are being done between the cobbler and the Brahmana is far more superior. He's far more strict and very perfect with his sadhana. How can you say that the Brahmana it's going to take him a long time? To which Lord Narayana said, to come back to me, you have to believe in me, right? You have to have faith. The cobbler has so much faith in me. He was able to accept what you told him immediately. He didn't have a single doubt. Therefore, he will come back to me at the end of this life. Even though he may have performed less bhajan than the Brahmana, he will come back to me faster because he has faith. The Brahmana has to wait for a long time because he may have perfected his sadhana. All the do's and don'ts he's checked off very nicely, but no faith. So therefore, Krishna is saying, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So if I want to know something about you, it is better for me to ask you, correct? If I go to others and ask about you, they may or may not know everything about you. So similarly, if we want to know who is Krishna and why is he himself saying that he's the Supreme Lord, and why are great devotees saying he's the Supreme Lord, so we don't have to hear from all of the other acharyas. We can hear directly from Krishna himself here in this chapter. So when we hear from the Lord directly about how he is speaking about himself, he is ready to tell you who he is. So why not hear directly from the source? So here is where Krishna says, Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So Krishna is saying, I have created earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and the false ego. So all of these, Krishna is saying, is my energy. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, in the next shloka, Krishna is saying, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So Krishna is saying these 8 constituted energies of his are inferior and they are separated from him. But who is the superior energy that is trying to manipulate material energy and trying to dominate and enjoy and control? That is the Jivatma, you and I. So Krishna has talked about the matter and spirit soul here. The spirit soul, through the agencies of the body, is actually trying to manipulate all of matter by creating things, destroying things, trying to maintain things. So these are all the things that the human beings are trying to do. And to a lesser extent, other animals are trying to do. So essentially, Krishna is saying these are the 8 separated energies. The internal energy of his, which is separated from him, is superior. And then the external energy that is separated from him is inferior. So that is a key understanding of how Krishna is talking about how he owns everything. And even more wonderful shloka where Krishna says, Mattaf parataram nanyat kinchadaste dhananjaya mai sarvam midam protam sutre manigana iva. Krishna is saying, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as pearls are strung on a thread. Sutre manigana iva. What do you see in this picture? A beautiful pearl necklace. You see all the pearls? What is it that you don't see in this picture? We don't see the thread. Just because we don't see the thread doesn't mean it does not exist. Just because we don't see the Lord doesn't mean he does not exist. Krishna is saying everything rests upon me. And the example Krishna is using is just like pearls are resting on this thread. You can see the pearls, but not the thread. You can see all of the cosmos, but you may not be able to see me because you have to develop that perception, that pureness to actually see and experience the Lord. Therefore, everything Krishna is saying is coming from me. Both matter and spirit are coming from the Supreme Lord. But we can't see it directly because we have not witnessed it. Because we have not witnessed it, we think it may not be true. So just like we can't see the thread, we can't see Krishna unless we are able to experience him spiritually. Right? But the Lord is the maintainer of everything and everyone. That is what Krishna is saying in these shlokas that we've read so far. Like the thread and the garland, the source of everything is Lord Krishna. Then comes the section where the Lord is talking about those who accept him and those who reject him. So not many accept that Krishna is a supreme engineer, that he is the only one God that exists. Everybody else is subordinate to him. So let's look at what is Krishna saying about those who accept him and those who reject him. So remember, this is a supreme Lord telling us I know some people will accept me. I also know some people will not accept me. Who are those who reject Krishna? Namam dushkriti no mudhaha prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya pahartagnyana asuram bhavamashvitaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So if we have to decipher the shloka, there are 4 categories that Krishna is calling. Mudha, Naradhama, Mayaya Pahritagnyana, and Asuram Bhavamashvita. So who is this Mudha? They are the people who say, why should I do bhakti? I've got everything that I need. So one day a son asks his father to do some bhakti. It will benefit you. The Shastras say if you do bhakti, it will benefit you. And the father refuses to listen. So the son goes and talks to the father's friend, saying that maybe the father's friend can influence his father better than he can. So the father's friend comes and talks to him and says the same thing. Look, the Lord has given you everything. Why don't you just express your gratitude to him every day? Why don't you worship him as an expression of your gratitude? Come, I will take you to the crematorium. Don't you see that the Lord controls everything? So he takes his friend to the crematorium and he says, see how many bodies are coming into this crematorium, one after the other. Don't you understand that one day you will die? That this body is just temporary? To which the father responds by saying, I made a terrible mistake. Just look at the number of bodies that are coming in here. How many burials are happening in this crematorium? How many bodies are being put to fire to return them back to earth? I made a terrible mistake. I should not have opened a jewelry shop. I should have opened a shop where I was selling wood. I would have been far more wealthy if I had sold wood and I had not opened a jewelry shop. So this is grossly foolish, where they can't see the truth even if you hold it right in front of their noses. So this is what Krishna means when he says, Mudha, foolish. Naradhama, the lowest of mankind. Who are these people? They are fighting for the basics in life. And when you're just fighting for having the basics in life, you do not have time for philosophy. So you can't go and tell them, here is Krishna, please worship him. They will say, all nice, but where is my food and where is my clothing? Where is my shelter? So for those who are struggling, Krishna says, they may not come to him because they're not ready to hear about it. They are much more worried about food, shelter, clothing, etc. Mayaya Pahritagnyana, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. They are too busy with so many duties and responsibilities. They don't have time for Krishna. They don't have time for spiritual, anything spiritual, because they are just so busy. Asuram bhavamashutaha. These are your categories of non-believers. In other words, we would call them atheists. They will say, God, what God? There is no God. I can do whatever I want. So these are the 4 kinds of people, Krishna says, who reject him outright. So what about the 4 kinds of people who accept Krishna? Krishna says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam janav sukriti norjuna arto jiknya surartharthi jnani chabaratharshabha. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me, the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So here again, Krishna has talked about 4 types of people who actually come to him. Of course, if you're distressed and if you've discovered that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, why not? You'll go to him and say, my dear Lord, please help me. I don't know what to do. Right? Kunti Maharani said, please help me. Jignasu, the inquisitive. Like the Sanat Kumaras. They were very interested in Brahman realization. They were not interested in Bhagavan realization. So they head towards Vaikuntha to figure out who is this Bhagavan. And the Artharthi, the wealth seekers, Dhruva Maharaj, who wanted a bigger mansion, bigger kingdom than his father, than his grandfather. And then, of course, those who are genuinely seeking that knowledge of the absolute truth. For example, Narada Muni, he was genuinely seeking the Lord because he happened to come in contact with pure devotees of the Lord and he had heard all about the Lord's pastimes. They left behind with him this transcendental spiritual science, and therefore he was genuinely seeking the Supreme Lord. So Krishna has given 4 examples of people who reject him and 4 examples of the type of people who accept him. And now Krishna is saying, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevas sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So Krishna himself is saying, to come to this stage of realization, who is Krishna? That will take many births. To accept that Krishna is the cause of all causes and there is nothing beyond him, Krishna is saying such souls who understand my nature, my position, my activities, such souls are very rare. So Krishna has talked about 4 kinds of pious people, 4 kinds of ignorant people who reject him. And then he's talked about his pure devotees. And he's saying these pure devotees, they are very rare souls. And they do it after multiple lifetimes, they become his pure devotees. Then here in this particular shloka, in the 20th shloka, Krishna is saying, Kamaistaistair hritagnyanaha prapadyante nyadevataha tam tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose intelligence have been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So you may think, hey, why did I not know all of this before? It's too late for me to change now who I'm worshipping. I'm already attached to a particular devata. So you may think like that. But Krishna is saying, yes, there are many jivatmas who worship the devatas. And they do it as per their rules and regulations of scriptures, as per their own desires. Whatever desires they want fulfilled, they will worship that particular devata, like Indra, Chandra, etc. So it's like saying, if suddenly now in chapter 7, you're discovering that Krishna is saying, I am actually the Supreme Lord, but some people still worship the devatas. So let us say I go to a restaurant where they are serving all kinds of delicious dosas. And I order for dosas. I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th dosa come and I am full now. I cannot eat anymore. What if I go and complain to the person who's been serving me the dosa? Say, why didn't you bring me the seventh dosa first? See, it was the seventh dosa that caused me to become full. Why you wasted my time feeding me dosa number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Why didn't you bring me the seventh dosa? Because that's the dosa that actually filled me up. Then you understand that you actually felt full after a period of time. So similarly, Krishna is saying, it will take many births before you become my devotee. So it took 6 dosas and the 7th dosa for you to feel full. Nobody could have served you the 7th dosa immediately and you would have been full. That is not possible. Hence, Krishna is saying, it will take many births before somebody begins to worship me. Until then, they will be worshipping the devatas. It's not. It is not too late for us to change who we worship. So Krishna says here in the 23rd shloka, Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So here Krishna is saying, if you worship the devatas, whatever results they give you, it is going to be temporary. But if you worship me, whatever results I give you, because you're worshiping me, all your results will be eternal and permanent. And because you're worshiping me, ultimately, you will come back to me. But if you worship the devatas, you are going to go to the planets of the devatas. You will not enter the spiritual world. Why? Because the devatas are all living in the material world. They are not in the spiritual world. So here in Shloka 27, Krishna finally answers the question as to who can actually become his devotee. Ichcha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. O Sion of Bharata, O conqueror of the four, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So, who cannot become Krishna's devotee? Those who are not under illusion, those who are not wrapped up by dualities, by apparent contradictions. So, in the next shloka, this means we are taking birth again and again because of our desires. And the more desires we have, more delusional we become. The more desires you have, the more you will not be able to understand Krishna. So we become bewildered, Krishna says. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So Krishna in 2 shlokas has contrasted between those who are under illusion, delusion, therefore they don't worship him, versus those who have accumulated enough pious credits, who have also done some bhakti in their previous lives, so they have wiped out all of their sinful reactions. They don't live under delusion anymore. Krishna is saying such kind of people, such kind of jivatmas, they engage in themselves in worshipping me, but with determination. So we can perform bhakti only when we have wiped out all of our sins. So we've committed so many sins we do not know. We only know that we must have had so many lifetimes of birth, death, old age, and disease. So the only hope for us to remove these sins is to actually chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if we too want to perform bhakti, we have to eradicate our sins. And Krishna has told us that if we simply do Nama Japa, all of our sins will be wiped away. So chanting burns away all our sins. So in this particular chapter, Krishna has introduced himself. He says, I am the creator of all matter. I am the creator of all jivatmas. And he has also told us those who will accept this, those who will not accept it. Those who are in delusion may continue to worship the devatas. Those who have wiped away all of their sins will worship me, and they will do it with absolute determination. So in this chapter, Krishna has spoken about him, and he has introduced his devotees. And what do his devotees do? They worship him with determination. So in the next chapter, the 8th chapter, we are going to discover a little bit more about Krishna and his devotees. So join us tomorrow. So if there are any questions on today's chapter, I'm happy to take the questions now. So I'll just, So anybody who has a question, you can just raise your hand. I will call your name and then you can unmute yourself. Yes, Ravi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you said that there are 4 kinds of people who accept Krishna and 4 kinds of people who reject Krishna. In the case of 4 types of people who accepts Krishna, you said the distressed and the desirer of wealth and inquisitive and seeker of knowledge of the absolute truth. In the first 2, like the distressed and desire of wealth, is it not like demigods? They will go to demigods and whatever purpose they want. They can seek demigods' blessings for their completion of that. The same thing which is coming in demigods also. Who are, I think, pray to demigods? That is the thing.
Yeah. So nice question. Thank you for asking the question because it gives me an opportunity to provide clarity on this. In that particular shloka, Krishna is talking about those who are pious. He has not used the word that they are my devotees. He is distinguishing between those who are sinful and those who are pious. So even if you have faith in Krishna, initially, you may be seeking from him material things, just like you would seek material things by worshipping the devatas. And Krishna says, since ultimately I am the one who is sanctioning everything, irrespective of who you are worshipping. Correct?
Yes, yes.
In the 5th chapter, Krishna says, I sanction your desires.
Yes.
So why not go directly to the person who's sanctioning your desires and ask him, even for material things? So the distinction in those 2 shlokas is between those who accept him and those who reject him. In the category of those who accept him, he has not called them my devotees.
Okay.
He's just used the word they are pious.
Biased. Okay. Yeah, I got it now. Yes, Mataji, I got it.
Okay, nice question. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I'm sure there is something in the chat. Let me see. Okay, I don't see any. Okay. Does the parampara continue after Swami Srila Prabhupada? Yes, it's continuing with all of us. We are all trying our sincere best to practice Krishna consciousness as per the instructions of the Acharya. In the future, one more Acharya may come. Acharyas are Acharyas. They occupy a special position. But the parampara is, how does the parampara continue? The parampara can only be kept alive if the devotees who are part of that parampara are following the instructions of the Acharya. So it doesn't mean the parampara has broken because another Acharya immediately after Prabhupada has not come. If you notice in one of those slides in chapter 4, when we talked about the parampara, there is a big gap between some of the Acharyas. It's not that great Acharyas come one after the other. They don't. There may be a gap. But in between, it does not mean people are not practicing what they have laid out for us to practice. Yeah. So the only way you can keep a parampara alive is by following the instructions. Yes, so certainly the parampara is very much alive. We have millions of devotees who are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. And that's because of Prabhupada. Yeah. Yes, thank you for that question, Siri. Yes, Dr. Venugopal.
Yeah, okay. I understand there are 4 types of yoga. That is a Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Raja Yoga. So if you follow one of the 4, that is okay, or do you have to follow only the Bhakti Yoga?
Krishna is all merciful. He accepts any path that you follow. You are at least ultimately trying to reach him. He understands that. You may not know him as a Supreme Lord, but the path that you're following ultimately should take you there. But among the 3 paths, predominantly Krishna is only focused on Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Dhyana Yoga is just one chapter, and that's specifically in relation to how to manage your mind. So Dhyana Yoga is not a focus at all of the Bhagavad Gita. So technically it's 3 parts: Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Krishna acknowledges that you have the freedom and free will to practice any one of those paths. But Krishna himself will express his opinion by saying Bhakti Yoga is the best in chapter after chapter after chapter. So why? Because Krishna wants you to get closer to him so that you can have your intimate relationship with him. In whichever rasa or bhava that is, that you had in the spiritual world when you were there in the spiritual world. So Krishna's recommendation is Bhakti Yoga. But he does not say Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga are useless. They certainly take you, hopefully, ultimately in the direction of Krishna. But Krishna says Jnana Yoga is quite tough. And when we come to the future chapters, I think that will become clear why Krishna is saying that. Yeah.
The reason I asked that question is, my father, he lived up to the age of 90. He never used to go to any temple.
Yes.
He never used to stand in front of the puja, whereas my mother was always going to the temple, and I do go to temples. But my father never. But he was 100% a karma yogi. That is, and he had a peaceful life, and he never suffered from an equanimity also. So I believe that he was able to accomplish that because through the karma yoga.
So you're saying work is worship is what your father was following?
I don't know whether it is worship or anything. What he was doing is, he used to do, he was having a small business, a shop. He never used to sell anything, even the MRP, maximum recommended price, he will settle below that one. Okay, always. The profit also, when others used to sell, they mark that price. Suppose it is a 20 rupees MRP, he would sell it for 17 rupees. He said, okay, this much profit is more than enough for me. So that's sort of an approach. And so selfless, and he was doing service to the community.
Very wonderful. Yes.
And nothing, no greed, and
That is
no
also
feelings
beautiful. Yes.
no feelings of jealousy. And he used to get good sleep. He would go to bed, and within 10 minutes, you will see him snoring and sleeping. Okay. So with all the challenges, his business also a lot of challenges. Running a business, that too in Kerala. So our place is Kerala. Kerala is a place where if you want to run a business, oh my goodness, all these union labor problems, and he was very unperturbed, completely relaxed. And he didn't know anything about most about the even Mahabharata or Ramayana. I was surprised. Many characters he doesn't know. If you talk to him
Yeah.
about any of these characters, because I learned all these things as a child,
Yes.
and no conversation was possible with him when if I bring the mythological characters into any conversation.
Yeah. So the underlying question, although it was not posed as a question, it was more of a statement. There are many, many good people on this planet Earth who may not be worshipping anybody, any god. They may not have a belief system other than I believe in my work and I believe in being good to others and serving the community the best way I can. So maybe the underlying question there is, what's the destination for people like this, or is what they did was wrong? No, not at all. Definitely there is an appreciation for jivatmas who do this kind of selfless work and exhibit all the good qualities that one would like to see in great devotees of the Lord, or one sees also in great devotees of the Lord, this selflessness. But connection to Krishna is important. That is what yoga actually means. Yoga means you're trying to connect with the divine. And maybe some of us try to connect with the divine through our work. But does Krishna reciprocate? I think that question will get answered in chapter 9. Does Krishna reciprocate with such jivatmas? For example, the Brahmana and the cobbler story, right? The Brahmana was Paka Brahmana, followed everything, scriptures, perfected his sadhana, but no faith. The cobbler didn't know anything about Vedic scriptures, but had faith in the Lord. So the Lord reciprocates with those who have faith in Him, and that's where your spiritual journey begins. When you acknowledge that there is a higher power than you, and all you're trying to do is serve Him. Serving the community and being a good human being, all of that is very much necessary, especially in Kali Yuga. We have very few people who do that. But still, Krishna wants the Jivatma to have a relationship with Him because we come from Him. So He is also yearning for you to reach Him. So yeah, there are many good people who do a lot of good things, but for those good things, they will be rewarded. The Lord does not reward them. How does He reward them? Materially. He does not reward them spiritually if they have not acknowledged Him. So certainly such kind of pious people, pious here in the sense that, be good to others, don't harm anybody. Krishna will certainly reward them in the next life, for sure. Yeah.
Mataji, one question. I'm not able to see myself in the gallery view. Are you able to see me?
I'm able to see you.
I don't know why. I'm not able to see in the gallery view. My name also is not there.
Oh, I see your name. I see you in the gallery. Are
Yeah,
others able to see Dr. Venugopal? Because I'm able to see you clearly.
Yes, Mataji, we are able to see him.
Yeah, always I was able to see myself, but I'm not able to see my this one. So I have become invisible to myself.
Have I become invisible?
No, everybody else I can see. I myself have it. So what is happening? Have I
Not
become
everybody has their camera on. So
yeah, my
sometimes
name is
normally you
Venu.
see yourself on the top.
Yeah, my name is Venugopal, so I have become Lord Krishna. I'm invisible.
Yes, we are able to see you. I think others are also able to see you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Where are you in the US, Dr. Venugopal?
It's a state called Kansas.
Kansas.
Kansas. This is near the neighboring states are Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and like that. It's the Midwest. It is
Oh,
not. It is far away from New York, far away from California.
yes, I'm familiar with the neighborhood because I lived in Missouri for St. Louis for 13 years.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Kansas and Missouri are the neighboring states. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you are in St. Louis is from my home, 4 hours of drive.
Hmm. Very cold. Kansas and Missouri are very
Yes.
cold places.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Very nice. It brings back memories of the arch. Have you been to St. Louis?
Oh, yes. I just a couple of years back, I was there for 3 or 4 days just to seeing places.
So you visited the arch.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very famous monument for those who've not heard of it. There's a beautiful, huge arch that rises, I don't know how many feet into the sky. You can actually travel up an elevator all the way to the top of the arch and see
Right.
the city from
Yeah.
the top. So yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's right on the river, Missouri River.
Right.
Yeah. So St. Louis is between Mississippi and Missouri rivers, two huge rivers
Hmm.
in the US. It's a beautiful
So,
place.
so when did you leave St. Louis and go back to India?
Oh, that was 2008.
Okay.
Mm.
Hmm.
When the market crash happened.
So where are you physically now located in India?
I'm in Bangalore.
Bangalore. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I give talks again every Thursday. My talks are not about spirituality or anything. I
I'm
give
sure.
talks on that is to, again, I'm donating my time, my knowledge, everything for the benefit of the public without expecting anything in return. So it is
Very nice.
100% charity work.
So
Yeah,
you're doing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Very nice.
exactly. So tomorrow I'm giving a talk on ups and downs in life. That is tomorrow at 8 to 9 p.m.
Very nice. All right. I see a couple of questions in the chat, so I'll just address it. Who are the demigods was one of the questions. The demigods are the devatas. They have administrative responsibility of various departments, and they do those services on behalf of the Lord. So that is how we would explain the devatas. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Siri. Does it mean any person will get moksha if he is working as true karma yogi? Moksha or liberation is also a huge topic. It means different things in the context in which it is used in the Shastra. One way to look at moksha is to be free from all anxiety, to just lead a happy life, accept whatever comes your way, not be distressed if things don't go your way. There is also moksha. In the sense, even in this life, you have learned how to lead a life of, as Prabhu said, equanimity. You're not worried about anything or everything. Everything is, whatever is there, you're comfortable with it. So that could be one meaning of moksha. So if that's what your goal is, then yeah, you can accomplish moksha. But moksha also means going back to the spiritual world. So not everybody who leads a life of equanimity automatically go back to the spiritual world. So there has to be a spiritual revival, a spiritual connection to go back to the spiritual world. So the word moksha has many layers of meanings. One such meaning is to not have any anxiety in life, to lead a happy life, a comfortable life, to not experience any distress, even if they come your way. So it does not mean all karma yogis go get moksha. No. Sometimes chanting gets stopped because of sudden death. Yeah, if there is sudden death in the family that you're not expecting because of all of the duties and responsibility one has, then yes, your chanting may get disturbed for that period of time. You should do your best to try and get back to chanting because you understand how important it is to you. to manage your mind and to manage everything else. So if you have experienced death recently, my sincere condolences to you. I hope you will be able to pick up chanting soon. Yes, one does get busy with a whole lot of duties and responsibilities related to our family. So events will happen in our family that can be disturbing. The only solution is to get back to chanting. And I'm so happy that you're attending these sessions, and I hope you'll find the strength within you to come back to chanting. Yeah. Swapna, I hope that answers your question. All right. Any other questions? Is Arohana method also called Anumana Praman, Avarona method called Shabda Praman, and faith called Pratyaksha Praman? No, there is no direct linkage like this. Anumana Praman is through experience. Yes, certain methods lend themselves to certain ways of perceiving reality. And Anumana Praman is one way of perceiving reality in the Arohana method. In the Avarohana method, Shabda Praman has a huge emphasis because the words are coming directly from the Supreme Lord. But even in the Avarohana method, we cannot discount that our personal experience also strengthens our faith. So within Avarohana, also you have realizations, correct? But you didn't do it through experimentation. You happen to have realizations because you were following instructions. And therefore, faith is actually necessary in all methods. Arohana method and Avarohana method, faith has to be there. So Pratyaksha Praman means seeing is believing, or whatever. Experiencing is believing. So as far as I know, there are no connections like this. But it's an intelligent question nevertheless. I never thought of it that way. Yeah. All right.
Mataji, Hare
Yes. Hare Krishna.
sorry. No, another set of 18-day classes, when I attended, that time you said Shastra say there are 3 processes for acquiring knowledge. And
All
then
3
said
are relevant,
Pratyaksha
yes.
Praman, Anumana Praman, and Shabda Praman.
And Shabda Praman is superior.
Okay. And now this one, these 3 are Arohana method, Avarohana method, and the faith. What is that? That is also ways of acquiring knowledge.
No. The only difference is Arohana means you are doing things on your own to discover life, to discover truth. Correct? Avarohana means somebody has also already discovered the truth. Therefore, why waste time? Just follow in their footsteps and you will get there.
Okay, Mataji.
That is the only difference between Arohana and Avarohana. But within that, all 3 are there. In the Arohana method also, when you experiment, you may be hearing from others how to experiment, no?
Yes, Mataji.
Shabda Praman is there. Even in non-spiritual things, Shabda Praman is superior. If your mother told you this is a desk, you heard from your mother this is the desk and you believe her. You don't say, I'm going to go and experiment and see if this is really a desk.
Okay.
If your mother said that is the moon, you didn't say, I'm going to go experiment and see for myself if that really is the moon. So even in material knowledge, Shabda Praman is superior. Actually, that is how we learn as babies. We hear. This is the tree, that is fire, this is safe, that is dangerous. We're constantly hearing. It is only through the process of hearing also we acquire material knowledge. So that same process of hearing has to be used for acquiring spiritual knowledge also.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, one more question. Can we say that in the 4 types of pious people, can we say jnanis are more pious or greatest devotees as they approach Lord Jnana? Yes. Krishna says that. He says among the 4 pious, the jnanis are the best. Krishna does say that, yes. Okay? Because they have a genuine desire to know who Krishna is. That doesn't mean they have established a firm relationship with Krishna. So anybody who has established even a small relationship with Krishna based on faith, Krishna accepts them also as devotees, not just pious. Correct? Okay.
What is the 4th shortcoming? I noted 3:1, like imperfect senses, tendency to make mistakes, cheating,
and illusion.
Illusion. Okay.
Shabda Praman, yes, is referring to Shruti. Because the Vedas were spoken. And it was learnt by hearing. Of course, later on, Srila Vyasadeva compiles it along with his disciples. Okay, anything else? It means Jnana Yogis are dearest to the Lord or Bhakti Yogis? No, Bhakti Yogis are dearest to the Lord. That we saw in 47th Sloka of the 6th chapter, where the Lord says, among yogis, ascetics, among yogis, tapasvis, jnanis, and karmakandis, the yogis are the best. In that context, Krishna said dhyana yogis were best. Dhyana yogis are better than jnana yogis. That's what Krishna said. But in the 47th shloka, Krishna said, but if you ask me, those who are my bhaktas practicing bhakti, they are higher than everybody else. Yes. It is just that in the pious category, Krishna considers jnanis to be the best. When it comes to trying to unite with Krishna, Krishna considers the dhyana yogis to be the best because they are actually focusing on the Paramatma within them, clearly. But the bhaktas upfront, they are saying, Krishna, I am yours, you are mine. Therefore, bhaktas are most beloved to Krishna. It doesn't mean Krishna doesn't love all of us. He loves all of us. But he especially appreciates his devotees more. Okay, if we are distressed and approach the Lord and do bhakti yoga, he is also considered as better than a jnani? Yes, because you have approached the Lord. You're going in the right direction and Krishna appreciates that. If you started worshipping the Lord, Krishna considers you his devotee because you have faith in him. A jnani may or may not have faith in Krishna. He may just be searching for answers. He may just be searching for the truth. And until he is convinced of the truth, he may not surrender to Krishna. Does that make sense? So a jnani is very much in a stage of, I want to be convinced that you're the Supreme Lord. So let me come to you and see what all I can learn about you. Whereas
Mataji, here you would say a very sweet story in many classes. You would say like Bhakti Yogi is very dear to Krishna. Like suppose father has in a family there are 3 kids. Father brings chocolates for all the 3, but one child will offer father first and then have it for himself. So though the father loves all the kids, but there'll be special affection for that child who offered him that comes naturally because he offered the chocolate to the father, just like that.
Yes, very nice. Thank you for remembering that little example that makes a big difference. A parent is always pleased when the child is concerned, expresses concern for them and about them. Here, the child's concern was, that's very nice, you brought us all chocolates, but what about you, Dad? You didn't take any chocolate. Here, you can have one. So certainly the father is always pleased with the child that is conscious of him and is concerned about his father's happiness also. So that is why when Krishna knows you are concerned about his happiness and his comfort, he has special love and affection for you. So this is why Krishna says, only my devotees understand me. So can we say that the father will tell the young child, only you understand me, because you are always trying to reciprocate with me, trying to have a connection with me. Which parent would not love it when their child is connected with them on such a deep level? So why is Krishna any different? You are his child. He wants you to have a deep relationship with him. And that relationship starts with chanting his holy names, because when you chant, Krishna is listening and saying, Acha, my baby is calling me. So you attract his attention. That is why Krishna says, my devotees are the best, because they care about me so much. Even though I'm not dependent on them, they are dependent on me. Correct? Is the father dependent on the child? Not at all. The child is dependent on the father. Still, the child is anxious that the father should be equally pleased, happy, satisfied. So when you have that kind of relationship with Krishna, where you care deeply about him, that's when you attract his attention. It is no different than any other parent-child relationship. When the child constantly expresses their love and affection for their parent in so many different ways, the parent is very pleased. The parent is very pleased. So since Krishna is our Supreme Father, that's what we should do. We should express our gratitude to him and do everything that is needed to please him. Yeah. Very nice questions. Are there any further questions? So tomorrow is a very interesting chapter. Please join us for chapter number 8. We'll talk about exams and final exams tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Vancha kalpadarubhyasya kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanas Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Mataji, how's your mom? How's Amma?
Yes, I should give you an update. So this afternoon, my mother had some additional abdominal scan because they were not able to figure out what was causing bleeding. But anyway, we took another third opinion today, and I think the doctor has said there are 3 issues. One is that the stomach is putting a lot of pressure on the heart. And therefore that may be causing some issues with her breathing. Then there are a lot of ulcers in the stomach, so acidity. So the stomach lining has degraded quite a bit. So the acid in the stomach has eaten the stomach lining itself. So that means she should eat more often and smaller quantities. And the third thing they said is that they would like to see her after a month. But she has to be on a strict diet. So if the certain symptoms don't change, then she needs to come back right away for another endoscopy, is what they have said. So she'll be moved out of the ICU tomorrow, hopefully. She's doing okay. Her hemoglobin has come back to 9, although it is a little on the lower side. But yesterday it had dropped again, so it was cause for worry. So they have said externally she looks healthy, but internally it is not as healthy situation as feasible. Of course, given her age, she's doing fine. She's 86. So they have said that they would like to observe her for one more day and probably release her. We do have one concern because there still seems to be some blood in the stool. That is a huge concern. If that doesn't stop, that means the bleeding is going on somewhere else and we don't know where it is. So we'll have to take her back to the hospital to do additional investigations. So she is under observation now, and we have to also observe her closely and make sure that she's on a strict diet and have many more meals throughout the day than just one meal or 2 meals. So yes, thank you for all of your prayers. Definitely the Lord always listens to sincere prayers from his devotees. So certainly all of your prayers somehow or the other has protected my mom. We were ready for anything because of the situation, but she seems to be recovering okay. She's quite a strong person. So thank you very much for all of your prayers. I really, really appreciate it. I did not mention another challenging situation. Just last week, my husband was also diagnosed with mouth cancer. So I'm dealing with 2 situations simultaneously. So he's been going through a lot of tests. So he will most likely have his surgery to remove the tumor in his mouth, probably this weekend. So please also offer your prayers for him. I did not mention it that day because I thought it was not right to ask for so many prayers. But anyway, since I was dealing with 2 situations simultaneously, it was a little bit confusing for me also what to focus my attention on. So I told my husband, until my mother's situation is resolved, can he postpone his surgery? So he also went through some additional scans and went through 3 different doctors, oncologists, and then people who specialize in dental health because the tumor is actually growing inside the mouth. So they are saying it is cancer, but nothing to worry about. He has to have surgery for sure. That is not something that can be avoided. So we are planning to have that surgery maybe one day next week. Yeah. So definitely challenging times, but we don't know what is Krishna's plan for each one of us and what our journey is. So we have to just stay calm and do the best we can and accept that everything is coming for a particular reason. It's a reminder that life is so precious and life is so short. It's better that we perform bhakti when we can. My mother was chanting all the time when she was in the hospital because I've been telling her, you have to chant, you have to chant. I said, you don't know when you're going to leave your body, better you chant. And she said, yes, I'm chanting in my mind. So one day I gave her beads in her hand in the ICU and told her, you please chant. And she was chanting for some time. But she was telling me that she's chanting all the time in her mind, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And that is really that is the state you should get to. You should be chanting the holy names of the Lord, whether you have beads in your hand, whether you're counting or not. All the time you should be chanting the holy names of the Lord because it is such a protection for us. It's such a wonderful gift that Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have given us. So yes, thank you for all of your prayers. Please pray also for my husband because he will have surgery next week. Hopefully my mom will come out of the hospital by then. Thank you so much. It's been a little bit hectic time for me. So my apologies. I hope I can be a little bit more consistent. Yeah. Hare
We'll
Krishna.
definitely pray, Mataji, for both of them. And
Yeah,
thank you, Mataji, in the midst of so much, what to say, difficulties, you are taking class for us. Thank you so much
Actually,
for
this
that.
is the
Also.
most peaceful time of the day for me, because I noticed if I was in the hospital, I was getting restless and just sitting and waiting. Another test, another scan, then doctors disagreeing with each other. It's like, okay, then should you get a second opinion? Should you get a third opinion? And it was just going on, there was no clear resolution because different doctors were saying different things. So it was a little frustrating. But anyway, sometimes you just need patience. But thank you. This is actually, for me, this is like a lifeline to have these classes, because it kind of reminds me, I have to live what I'm teaching, because otherwise it's of no use. Yes. But thank you very much.
Take care, Mataji. Stay strong, Mataji.
Very well. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, we'll all pray for you, Mataji, definitely.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
It's nice to see you so strong, Mataji. Though no one can say that you're going through such great turmoil in a family. So, but still you say you're so, you look so relaxed, Mataji. That is definitely
the anxiety is there because life is unpredictable, no? So definitely the anxiety is there, but at the same time, I know whatever Krishna wants is what will happen, Yeah. So I have to be ready to accept anything that comes my way. So yeah, please pray whatever it is that Krishna wants, that is what is going to happen. And I have to be ready for whatever it is. But thank you very much, Hare Krishna. I really appreciate it. Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, sincere prayers, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.